Hey, what's going on, everyone? And welcome to the Deceptilab, and welcome to my weekly live stream. Today, we're gonna talk about the rework that they did for Drillhorn and Nose Cone. We talked about some of the others last week. I'll kind of fill you in on where we are with the process, and yeah, it should be a pretty fun stream. I actually want to take a look at now that we've got most of the content that we're going to come out with for the year. I want to kind of look at the year in review. And honestly, man, like when I was going through just all the different content that we got from Transformers Earth Wars this year, man, as honestly it was we got some pretty cool stuff this year. So definitely want to talk a little bit about that. I usually do one of those every year, usually around November, just to kind of wrap everything up. And hopefully, we can get some good news for the future at some point. I'm actually in the process of trying to schedule an interview with Dale, and so and it was actually his idea. So we'll see how that goes. See if we can get him into the lab and just talk some of this stuff out later on and over the next couple of weeks. So that should be fun. And before we do any of that, though, let's go ahead and take a look at this week's newsletter. And I messed that up. That's not right. Let me fix this real quick. Yeah, that's not. There we go. So, this week's event is going to be called Rust Never Sleeps. And it is. Let me get everything situated here. And it's going to be week one of the new saga. So, shout out to everybody that completed the endurance event last week. I ended up only doing about I only ended up only doing about 30K last week, man. I was kind of busy, but you know, still enough to get some of the main prizes, so I was happy with that. Let's see. So this week's event is a 10K individual totalizer. So generic 10K stuff, man. War for Cybertron skin core. I really wish we could get some new cores. I know they're working on the winter Sentius one. That'll be cool, but I'd like to see some more skins up here outside of just a Cyber Pass. But let's see. So, but yeah, typical prizes. The 5K of 4-star shards, 7.5K of 3-star shards, and your 30K premiums, in addition to your 5 of your 500K Troop XP items, and then 200K Spark, 2 million Alloy and Energon. So always good to have those in the reserves. So typical prize charts, typical battle zones. They got some updates here for your skins. Got some pretty cool skins this time around. Though speaking of skins, for the battle pass, or you're gonna have Rook on the Autobot side and Vortex on the Decepticon side, and honestly, both of these look really cool. I like that. So usually I'm preferential to the Autobot skins. They usually look better, but that Vortex one looks pretty cool. All right, and then they got your charts for your season 22 a Cyber Pass. And of course, we get today's topic, which is going to primarily be about Legacy Batch 1. And so, as you go through the newsletter, you can actually see just massive changes they made to Drillhorn. He's actually really, really good. And I already saw some chatter in the live chat about it. And we'll talk about that. We're actually going to talk about that separately. And I didn't mention that when I was doing my intro, but I want to talk about these events, man, because I see some regression back to the old way that Space Ape was doing things in this upcoming saga, and honestly, it needs to be addressed. And I'll tell you the plan that I presented to them here in a little bit, but we'll see how it goes. Um, but anyway, so long story short, they reworked Drillhorn and Nose Cone, and it's gonna be a lot different. We'll do some gameplay in a minute, but kind of to summarize some of the things they did. Um, they made it so that his wall damage is much better. They slowed his ability down a lot, and the reason why they did that is they didn't want to have it be too overpowered. But you're gonna see here. We'll actually look at the 4-star and the 5-star and talk about some of the differences. But he's got more damage reflection. They gave him good HP, DPS. They gave him the Rush Warrior. little max health boost. And dude, honestly, he's actually a viable bot at all levels now at this point with the reworks that they've done. So as long as they stick to that, which usually by the time they put it in the newsletter is kind of final, then it's looking pretty good. So they went to each of the play testers, and I actually had some people ask me on Discord why mine was so short. They said it doesn't sound like me, dude. They kind of did it in a rush. They was like, "Hey man, the newsletter's getting ready to come out. You guys got any thoughts?" And I was like, "Well, shoot, man, I could have you could have asked us that this morning, yesterday, all the talking we were doing, but it's all good. As always, I talk about it on the stream, and you guys can make the determination yourselves as well. But Drillhorn came out really, really good. I was really pleased. I had a lot of direct involvement with that one over the last week or so. So hopefully you guys like it when you see it. We already talked about Grimlock and Razor Claw last week, and I kind of like Tex's thoughts on this one. I'm not gonna read it, but long story short, he's like, "Look, these are bots that are iconic in the lore, particularly with Grimlock. So to make them a warrior is gonna do them a lot of justice, and I'm inclined to agree with that. Like you gotta for bots like that are great in the lore, you gotta make them great in the game too. So this one's gonna be nice. I showed them off a little bit last week. Not really a whole lot of changes from that point. And the same with Ripper Snapper and Slash. They got a range boost there. Dropped the cost a little bit. The initial cost is down to 6 points now, and looking really good and can be competitive again. Trailbreaker and Exhaust was that one was actually funny. So we were sitting around last Thursday, and a couple of my playtest buddies up there were talking about yeah, this is in the live server, and we were trying to work on Drillhorn. Dale was like, well, don't worry about it. But he's like, nah, man, it's on the live server. So Trailbreaker and Exhaust is already out. I showed you guys the range boost last week, but it really does help because for him, the problem that I kept seeing was that he couldn't cover very many bots. So now he can. He can cover an entire team. That's the one set of changes that I talked about was this change in the newsletter. Just because I think it makes him. He's a bot that I really really like a lot, honestly. And shoot, if they had him as a 5 star, I'd probably find a use for him. If I'm being honest, especially if front loaded bases start coming back or anything like that. Right now everything's back loaded. I mean, I still could use it in that, but like one of the other playtesters is saying, he's pretty versatile, man. So I like it. It's about a 30% just area increase. Really really good rework and really simple rework. That's all he really needed, in my opinion. So worked out really well. Now the problem we're having is with Huffer and Lockdown. I'll actually talk about that in a little bit because we having a lot of conversation on how we can make them better. So I see a lot of talk in the chat. What would you do to make Lockdown and Huffer better? Let me know in the chat. And if you got something good, I always do the same thing, man. I ask the community come up with something good, I'll send that over to Space 8. So what would you do differently for Lockdown and Huffer if you were given the opportunity to? Let me know in the chat. Um, so that's gonna be your first legacy batch. Um, let's see. So that's the 5 that we are starting with, and Dale put like a short survey, or it might have been Merrill, because Merrill likes to use this straw poll website. I noticed, and what's cool about that website is you can see the results. So Space Ape can't really hide anything from you. It's a really nice subtle change to how we do things. And let's see. They also said there's going to be a new external store for Canadian players that they're going to be emailing the Canadian players about. So more to follow on that. I did see there was a little talk about it on Discord, but to be honest with you, I wasn't feeling that great today, so I didn't spend too much time on Discord. But yeah, so for all you guys that live in Canada, check that out. And also check out your content creators. The official ones are Engineer Horse, myself, Soldier, and of course Sunstreaker Waza. So make sure you check them, and shout out to all the unofficial content creators in there. When I go do my shout outs in a minute, I always try to make it a point to talk about those guys' content as well and identify them as creators. Saga schedule, we'll talk about in a little bit. Um, Honestly, yeah, we're gonna talk about that separately. I don't like this. I'll just I'll start off. I'm gonna be blunt about it. I don't like the direction the Saga schedule is going, and I'll tell you what I think they should do here in a bit. Nice artwork in the community corner as well as some what is that, RC? They got a repaint of RC in there. That's cool. And I was surprised to see this. I was actually more excited about this than anything else I saw today. So it's been months. I put in a bug fix for Hot Rod and Nemesis Prime because I don't know if you guys that use them, especially if you use them on offense. Um, Nightstick and Fracas do not work while they are invulnerable. They just stop healing, and so that bug fix went in. Dude, I put it in months ago, and I honestly thought I was just getting ignored. But that's been fixed. That'll go live tomorrow. Um, and some of the targeting issues they had for the ability have been fixed as well. So shout out to Space 8 for working really hard on these bug fixes right now. They've been getting more of them. It's always nice to just not have bugs, period. But when they do, you know, you gotta be able to catch those things and get them fixed and make it so the game, like, everything works as intended. All right, so they haven't put a date for their next team stream yet, but that's all we get for the newsletter. So let's flip over to the battlefield where we can see who's in the chat. And something is going wrong with the live chat in there. That's weird. I actually want that. Give me a second. I'm gonna get that on the screen. Yeah, it's always cool, even though you can't really read it. I like to have a live chat going just because it's cool. You can see how many people in there talking and stuff, and usually it actually gets my attention. So yeah, let me get that organized real quick. I put it in there earlier, and once I saw that, I thought it was good, but and meanwhile, I also want to check who all is in the chat. So pop out the chat. Yeah, it sucks, man, because like when you make content on the program that I use, the OBS Studio, I have to actually go in every week and post a new link. There it goes. Cool, we got it. And I got to post a link into the OBS Studio every single week, and I did it, but I must have left something off or something. But anyway, so we got. I gotta scroll back up to the top. I actually can't see the top of this right this second. But I think Loki was first to get in, and Loki says um says 87K for Drillhorn 5-star. He's like hell nah. Well, he said no way. I'm saying hell nah, and I get it. Um, it's tough, and this is one of the things that for me, I just don't I don't know. I'll talk about it when I get to it, but you rework this bot, and our community has a tendency that once it's bad, it's always bad, right? So for me, you got to do something to put some confidence in them that this actually is a good bot, and so that's why I'm making it a point to talk exclusively about them today. So let's see if we can change your mind. We got Chris Harmon in the chat, one of my good friends, moderators, and members, and he actually received the Junk Heap toy. And he has been saying for a while, like after he wanted it, he wanted to do it as a giveaway on our channel. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, so we can see how we're gonna set that up. It won't be tonight, but we'll probably try to do that later on in the month. But I'll give you the info that you need to get set up for that tonight. Robert C4, fellow friend and content creator, thanks for joining, buddy. We got Joshua Worley in here with us again. Thanks for joining, as well as the Mercenary Terror, my good friend and moderator and fellow content creator. So I'm glad that you could join us again tonight. I know you don't really miss too many streams, so I appreciate you for that. My good friend and teammate Candyman is in the chat. Says make Drillhorn great again. And my good friend Lord Avix is in here as well. Thanks for joining LA. And let's see. We got my playtest friend. Was it Jakata? Jakata? I don't know how to pronounce it. Jakata, I think it is. Sorry if I butchered your name. Uh, Thanks for joining us, as well as Kristen Jones, who's with us again. My good friend, moderator, and alliance family mate, Foxter Bomb is in here, and member, man of many roles. Thanks for joining. Let's see. Volcanic is number one's with us again, as well as Action Will, another good friend, family mate, and playtester. He says, please don't get nose coned. Grim Studios, another friend and content creators in here with us as well. Thanks for joining. We got Stephen Sheh is with us again. Thanks for joining. Tony B is here as well. Thank you for joining the stream. And Jacada. Okay, thanks for that, Jacada. I remember it now. I said I just always been reading and I hadn't actually talked to you, Jacada. Cool, man. Appreciate it. Uh, Autobot Phil is with us again, and it looks like that's who we got so far. All right, so let's take a look at this new Drillhorn, man. Grim Studios is in there twice. Hey man, appreciate it. That's good for the algorithm. You know what I'm talking about. All right, so I need to move over a little bit. It's cutting off my shoulder on that side. All right, so let's go take a look at this new Drillhorn nose cone. So here's the 5-star, and this is what it looks like without anything. So really good health. You got them just short of 48k for health. The damage is still pretty low. They're going traditional in terms of the health. So 312.4 for the. I mean, it's not the health. They're going traditional for the damage and health, honestly. But I was talking about the damage at 312.4 for the maxed out 70, and that's it. The private rank. So I rank them. Actually, do I got this? Yeah, I got all the stuff for that. I'll take him to Corporal. That'll put him over 50k and at 328 even for damage. Um, and what really changed here is the ability. So now you get plus 80% max health boost. This a lot of the rush tanks have. And you know that's going to be 80% max health and damage absorption. It's going to last for 12 seconds, and then it says you can slowly maneuver into combat, executing walls. So it's got like a feature in there that's going to do a substantial amount of damage to the walls. Actually, and we had a lot of conversation about this with between the 4-star and the 5-star, just how much wall damage we wanted to give each, and what we settled on was that for wall damage, we wanted the 4-star that if you used the wall buster core on the 4-star, that he would be able to take out HQ18 walls. But you have to have that maxed out wall buster core. So I was like, cool, man. You know, I went back and forth about it. Should we do that? But one thing I didn't mention in the newsletter is eventually they're going to make a G1 for this thing. So the G1's actually going to be. It sounds like it's going to be pretty nice based off of what they're talking about. But you know, this has been Dale's baby. Dale is well, really the legacy batch as a whole has been Dale's baby. He's been really, really just active and soliciting feedback, making minor changes, and then saying, "Hey, take a look at this." I was like, I think like all last week, Dale kind of like, because I was really heavy in the rework for this one, and so Dale would actually tag me and be like, "Hey, Freeze, can you mind taking a look at this? Does it work the way that the tooltip says?" And, and we had a lot of back and forth, and then so did the other testers. Um, he's going to reflect 40% of all income and damage as well. And the Warriors, when they do their rush, they attract defenses. So looking really good. We'll take a look at the 4-star real quick also before we do some gameplay. So as it is currently, I actually had them set up for the maxed out wall buster. Like I just mentioned, the maxed out wall buster will allow this maxed out 4-star to take out HQ 18 walls. So, typical bump down in damage and health. And well, actually, the damage is pretty close to the same. The health is down to about 41, just under 42k. Now, I started using Lancelon along with Drillhorn just in case I went somewhere where I was going to run into that defensive lead Maximo Prime Core. Um, so I was like, so that was my pick. Oh, that's right. Lancelon actually bumped up his DPS, so that's why it's close to the same as the 5-star. But yeah, this is it reflects a little bit less damage than the excuse me, reflects a little bit less damage than the 5-star. We'll take a look at both. So let's see what the chat is saying. Let me know, what do you think about this Drillhorn rework? Um, Honestly, man, Drillhorn and Nose Cone are pretty good. I'm gonna look at the 4-star first, and we'll see what you guys think. E-Rods is LOL. Drillhorn. I saw somebody putting in a bunch of laughing emojis. I saw a lot of heart emojis too, but I saw a lot of laughing emojis at Drillhorn. It's good, man. He's actually good. I was like, when I built my thumbnail, I was like, what do I want to talk about up there? And I was going to be like, hey man, it's my end of year review. But I was like, nah. I was like, dude, is this dude good now? Like, are people actually gonna come in here and mess with Drillhorn after years and years and years of the jokes and everything? Like, I was excited, and I said I understand why Dale was excited once we started working on this together. I was like, dude, and I told him straight up, I was like, man, you killed that, man. That's actually really cool. All right, so here goes our 4-star version of Drillhorn with um with the Wallbuster core. And so one thing that I want to point out to everybody and make very clear, so you can't actually go in there and target walls, and you can target an item, and any walls that are in the way between you and that item, that's what's gonna end up destroying the walls. Now in this case, I forgot that I got I actually forgot that I got run amok down there. So I probably need to try that on the other side. I actually gonna try it against another person's base, because sometimes when I'm on a test server, um, those those things don't always work correctly. So I think the apes usually set everything up in for our actual alliance battles. So um, just gonna do a. Actually, no, I'm not gonna use Texas base. I'm trying to see who I know got a bunch of walls in front. Let me see. I think Venger does. I see Chopper face up there. Dude, are you up there with another account? You got like 3 accounts up there right now, don't you? I appreciate it. Uh, Prion Infect says, would Amalgamus work on him? It would. I could find better uses for that Amalgamus core. Um, and also, I don't want to give too much away because it's not even in testing yet. But I think by the time we get that G1, um, we're gonna end up with some type of something to go add some sort of regen or something. I think that's what we discussed briefly, but we're not there yet. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, save your amalgamous for somebody better damage-wise. Alright, so this time we're looking at the 4-star again. And it moves really slow because I think the intent is that you don't destroy all the walls um, immediately. So right now, the we had actually had a lot of debate about this. So it didn't destroy that wall. You can actually see that it took about 80% of it. So they might have reverted a version back, but I think the final call is going to be to let them destroy walls with the wall buster core at HQ18 level. Um, so I just got to get the Space Ape to update that. But that's what it looks like on that side. And I can see the laughing emojis again. Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that 5-star though. So the intent with the 5-star is that the 5-star won't even need a wall buster core in order to destroy the walls. So let's take a look at that and see if that one's working correctly. Like every time I do a test on something, that's like, look, I'm practicing it like I play, so I'm gonna go use it in prime leg hard mode. Oh shit! I just I just put the 4-star back up there again, so I'm at the back out of that battle, and it just logged me out. All right, so let's see what the chat's saying. I still see a bunch of laughing emojis up there. Uh, let's see. I see Jimmy Watson joined us. He says when this next 5-star batch coming out. I don't know. Usually, I usually say something to you guys once we start testing. Honestly, if you ask me, it's too soon. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Joker, my good friend and my first member, Joker, just joined us. Said got icy cold in here. Let's see. Robert C4 says y'all forgot Drillhorn took a whole city hostage. Yeah, and say I'm assuming you talking about lore wise. Dude, honestly, he's gonna be pretty good, man, overall. Now I will say this to Loki's point earlier. I don't like the way that we're proceeding with the event, and I'm actually gonna pull up the event schedule here in a little bit. I don't like how we proceed with the event because, like, honestly, the event. I like the idea, and a lot of players on Discord like the idea of having an alliance totalizer, or individual totalizer, excuse me, for bots. Cool, man. Like, they always a lot of talk about there's too much stress on having 40 guys that are going to go in there and make sure they get their points and everything. And it's been a huge topic of conversation in playtest as well. I get it. I don't think it's a tough ask for us to do endurance events and have one moving event like every 2 months. That's just not a lot. Now, when you start going outside of that, that's when things become problematic, in my opinion. And so that's where we're at. All right, so they slowed Drillhorn down because they didn't want him to be overpowered. Now, right now, I'm not using any power core or anything. This is the 5-star version. And any wall that he comes, that he goes through while he's on his path is going to be destroyed. So it's a pretty cool feature. He's got some pretty good health. Um, and the thought process was that we want you to, when you get this 5-star, we want you to be able to equip the G1 or whatever other core it is you want to use. You don't want to have to only use Wall Buster. So it's kind of a nice to have. On average, when I was using them in an actual battle, I was able to take out probably about 3 or 4 wall sections per use, depending on base design. So um, I want to take a look in the chat again and see what you guys think about it. Chris Harmon's talking about Wild Rider because he completed the event to get Wild Rider. uh, this past weekend. Yeah, he messaged me like after he already had the bot and had played around with it and tell me how awesome it is. So I'm glad you like it. Everybody got a couple saying a couple of comments about Decepticon. Yeah, I'm actually heading back to Virginia again tomorrow, so Decepticon actually isn't here. He's at the pup sitters. So uh Volcanicus one says I'll wait for Sludge G1. Let's see. Grim asked if we gonna talk about Razor Claw. I talked about him a little bit last week, honestly. Uh, I might can make some time to go in there again. And then Grim also says, I think they put all their eggs into the wrong basket. Now, I will say this. Let's pull up this event chart while we talk about this, because my issue is this, and I'm gonna take myself out of the screen for a second so you can actually read everything that's up there, because I blew up the event schedule. Um, my issue is this. So we just had an endurance event, right? Last week. He said what's moving back and forth behind me. Oh, it was probably I got a new let me take a look. I got a new green screen, so I might have to do some adjusting with it. Yeah, that's just from the light in the new green screen. But when I look at this when I look around at the event schedule, we just had an endurance event last week. So now you're saying we're going to make an individual totalizer. It's still going to be 87.5K to get the bot. And as you can see, just looking around in the chat, just looking around at Discord, everybody's not sold on this bot yet. So I think two things. When you go make this as part of when you make an endurance events essentially 2 weeks apart from each other, that's bad. I think most of us can probably agree on that. Uh, it's holiday time, it's Thanksgiving in a couple, it's actually Thanksgiving the week after that week. Then Christmas the month after that. It's just not the right time to try to force in another endurance event. Now I know Space Apes usually has this stance. I I think they usually have this stance where they're saying, hey man, well, it's an individual event, you don't have to play. But I was like, if you're a company and you want to make money and you want your customers to say, hey, participate in this, you put these things at reasonable intervals apart from each other so they feel more inclined to participate. Now, I didn't even complete the endurance event this time around, and I still don't want to go do 87.5K for a bot that I may or may not use. So there's that. It's a really good bot, but you're always gonna have the comparisons to other bots. But yeah, so that's kind of how I feel about that. We got Prime Core Shard event, so 500K for it. So smaller alliance event, cool. But I can see that we're going back into old habits. So we had a couple of sagas now of just, hey man, prizes in the events are going to be short. And I don't know how Space Ape did financially with that. If people just kept hitting XP, you know, later on in the events after the prizes run out, or if people are just looking for prizes and that's it. But we're going back to some old habits, because week 4 is always going to be the 50K individual totalizer. So my suggestion was this: instead of going and taking a bot that we're not sure if people want yet, or people aren't sure if they want yet, and trying to make an individual uh, totalizer or individual endurance around it, what you should do is take the week 4 event, and with the week 4 event, make that into a combat endurance So you can have one bot endurance and you can have an individual endurance for combat bots. And it helps with a lot of things. I'm gonna actually flip back over to the game screen real quick because what I think that helps with is actually I need to go here instead. And it's probably not going to be as good an example on, yeah, because I got all the bots on here, all the combat bots on my test account. But what I'm looking at is like batch break. Batch break keeps getting delayed further and further and further, and like weapons delayed batch break when we started adding in these weapons. I'm actually, while I'm talking about this, I'm gonna pull up my live account. At least I think I am. I gotta actually mirror my phone to it. But batch break is real, and batch break continues to get delayed more and more and more as we go along. So I just it would be nice to say, hey, here's a new combat that comes out, and I just want to go for him, and you can go do that in an individual alliance event. That's what I propose. Space Ape's not ready to talk about these alliance events, these oh not excuse me, individual endurance events yet, and I can respect that because right now we're trying to get through these reworks. But yeah, that's what we're doing. So we'll see. Somebody said free advertising. Nah, I mean, yeah, that's on my those kind of ads pop up when you're using BlueStacks. So it is what it is. But my BlueStack screen, like the screen that I mirror my content with from my live account, is actually behind the BlueStack screen. So I just had to move it for a second. All right, so let's see. Let me see what I got here. Mirror. All right. So let me get into my live account, and while I do that, let me check the chat. So Trap joined us, and he says they released garbage, and we supposed to do the endurance for the 5 star. He says get the f out of here. Nah, and that's real. So yeah, and it's a tough sell, man. Like I'm trying to sell the bot is pretty good, but ultimately it's up to everybody else. But to go pursue it, especially right now within the holidays, and we go through this, it seems like every single year. Because it's the end of the quarter, it's going to be the end of the quarter, it's going to be the end of the year. Space Ape going to want to make that final sales push, and I get that. But like, you gotta make sure that the content that you're putting out, if you don't put out good content any other time, if you're gonna make an end of year push, like make a good end of year push like that. So um, we'll see how it goes. I'm actually gonna go over to my live account. We can take a look at what I'm talking about over there. And I'm actually, huh? Yeah, I got hit. I get hit on defense this time by a member of Red Planet. Let's see how that goes. Big Blade, one of my content creator buddies as well. Thanks for joining. Now I do agree with that, Trap. I think you're still talking about the new bot. Like if they put them in the Shannick store, that'll be cool. Oh shoot, I might actually get my ass beat. Robert C4 says I know Best Buy didn't pay their cut. Yeah, which I'm called Mercenary Terror said going to Virginia Beach. That's dope. I said, yeah, I'm originally Well, I'm originally from Norfolk, but I said I grew up in Virginia Beach. Yeah, I need to make some time and actually go through a base rework, but this is the first time I got beaten a little bit now. So shout out to the player that beat me on from Red Planet there. All right, so this is what I wanted to focus on though, and it is when I go and I look. Where am I trying to go? It's been a while since I've been on actually streamed this thing on here. Huh. G1 Ironhide bundle. Huh. All right, so let me go in here, and my concern is this: when I go look at all the combats that we get in here, like I like to wait for batch breaks before I start going pursuing certain stuff. Now in this case, as much as I like Roller Force, I probably won't try to go for him, but I will probably try to go for Growl. I get like 50-50 odds and pulling him the first time. And then, I know everybody's crazy about Gabu and Groundhog. Um, Problem that I'm running into is now that we're starting to make individual bots or combats for individual bots. Now I got bots up there like Tiger Chess. I'm not necessarily interested in, even though I do have that 5-star Deathsaurus. And the same thing when I look at Beto and and Kunai. So like those are being specific to Wheeljack and Shockwave. So, but I think it softens the blow if you say to your community, "Hey, let's go make this into an individual endurance," and then you can go in there whenever you and you can go in there and hit that, and you just get the 5-star bot. Same thing we do for regular bots. I think it will go better that way. Foster Bomb says he has everybody in that particular batch. Yeah, you can clearly see that I'm sitting on 11K of my combat chips. Uh, and honestly, that's how I wind up. I wound up saving at one point. I saved up like 50K, and I wound up pulling Fracas on the very first time after the batch break. I just waited through the batch break because I didn't want to sit there and just keep waiting and waiting and waiting. Um, so that was cool. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. All right, I'm gonna go back to the test server real quick. Oh man, they didn't even talk about that, Grim. They didn't talk about that in the newsletter. I mean, yeah, that change that they made to Growl kind of messes up those thunder drops now that he can't target the HQ. So I actually wanna take a look at that real quick. So let's go on the battlefield and we'll take a look at that. So let's see. Actually, I don't even know if they made that change on the test server. They probably didn't, to be honest with you, because that caught me off guard. To be honest, when they was like, "Nah, we ain't letting Growl do that no more," and what I heard happen was that one of the top teams, somebody used a thunder drop and a war among top teams, and they were like, "Hey, did y'all know this was doing this?" And I was like, "Yeah," like everybody knew it was doing that, but I think that most people was like, "I'm just gonna use it in events." Now I have seen people use that thunder drop in wars, but I was like, dude, like honestly, if you do that enough times, like Space Ape's not gonna let you do that, man, and like let it stay that way. So it's one of those cases when that one bad apple ruined the bunch, and it is what it is. Yeah, I'm not even sure if they made the change on the live server yet. From what I was told, because I didn't do it on the live server at all. From what I was told, he just stands there. like if you like if you destroy everything except for the HQ, the combat just stands there. I was like, okay, that's kind of dumb. I swear, man, I got a fly that got into the house, and he's like extremely annoying. So let's take a look and see what he does. I say it might not even do it on the. I thought I equipped him. Did I not? That's weird. Yeah, and I have to agree with that. So I see a comment that says, I still don't see why Drillhorn and Nose Cone can't be a Shanix release and do endurance for something else. Yeah, man, like I agree with that. I think the endurance should be for combats. That would be simplest way in my opinion. Endurance is for combats. I couldn't even see that Joker up there this time. I see you got Mario Zambiano to join us. Thanks for joining, Mario. Yo, come on, man. Chris Harmon said I call it Waza syndrome, man. Look, man, like, dude, honestly, they ain't got nothing that they ain't got nothing to do with him, bro. I actually just want to see what this thing does. 'Cause that one's a little bit too close. Oh, okay, he was still in. He hadn't. That's what it was. He hadn't went into robot form yet. But you can kind of see, man, like the dude's already like the best combat. They one of the best combats in the game, if not the best. I mean, and he's still gonna work well on defense, but I don't think the dude's gonna be able to target the HQ at all. I probably should have actually took some of this other stuff out. But yeah, I was told I'm not gonna keep trying to run it. I was told that he just stands there, so I actually need to go test it myself. Let's see. Mario says he said on stream he was worried Dale was doing big ambitious reworks. How is the legacy that? How is the legacy question bad? So here's the thing. So I'll tell you how I think we got to doing the legacy bats. Um, and say I've had a couple of testers say they hate large reworks. And for me, the thing is, there's nothing wrong with them as long as you keep them in the background. I think Space Ape was a little bit too loud too early about these reworks because, like, to be honest with you, like they knew this was going to take about a month. You know, it's Dale's like second major project because the first one before that was doing the um, War Effect reworks, and he's been involved in those for a little bit, but this is the first time he really got to run with it by himself. But this has been primarily Dale's project with limited help from the rest of the developer team, as I understand it. Like they step in and do some of the big stuff, but Dale just does little minor tweaks. And my goal from a playtesting standpoint is usability. Like I can go take, I got a request earlier to run like Razor Claw, so I can run some of these guys while we're talking. But usability, can I take this bot? Now, I'm not saying that you're gonna make the bot better than, you might not be better than Headstrong or better than Pipes or something like that. But make bots that are usable. That, hey, I have this bot, I got him from a batch, you know, years ago, and I don't have these options, but I can use this one because I've already got them leveled a little bit, and that's okay. And so, from a usability standpoint, that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. So I used the word when I was talking to Dale in playtest. I used the word viable, and pretty much he says, "Yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head. We're trying to make bots viable." Uh, and this is old content. They're not gonna make it better than the newer content, but they can make it good. And that's why with like Drillhorn and everything, I don't see doing an individual totalize, or excuse me, an individual endurance for him, because at the end of the day, they made him very very good, but he's old content, and they're not gonna have him be better than some of these other bots that we got, and that's just the bottom line. Some of these other rush tanks, most of you guys at this point already got headstrong and pipes. Are you gonna use it over him? No. Are you gonna use it alongside of him? Possibly, depending on what other bots you have. Like for me, I got maxed out. I got maxed out bludgeon over there. So if I had headstrong, I'd use headstrong and bludgeon. So it is what it is. Let's see. I'm just looking around in the chat. We got a comment from Joshua saying Chris Harmon's right, not enough Shanix. And yeah, no, I mean, honestly, it bothered me the way we proceeded with Shanix lately, because they was like, "Hey man," everybody's like, "Hey man, we're grinding too much. Hey, let's take away the raid every other week." And granted, um, you still get stuff. You get more Shanix every other week, but at the same time, like, I don't use it for anything. I either use it for occasionally for ore 13, or I use it for combat spark, and that's it. And for years, we've been asking for them to put another bot in the Shanix store, and they just won't do it. They don't want to. I mean, Giannis has been on record saying like, "No, we don't want to do that again." So I don't know. I think that would have been perfect, because you can go save up your Shanix, go get your Drillhorn, and you ain't even gotta like them. You can just be like, "Hey, I'm collecting this," and it's not costing your wallet. A lot of people just not gonna have that confidence in that bot, and it's okay. It is okay. I see some comments in there about the acid meta, uh, and basically how it's garbage. They're starting to come up with new ways, though. They're starting to, I think a lot of the focus is to start coming up with new ways that don't involve acid to try to go take out these clusters. But anyway, um, so that's what I'm looking at. So let's see. All right. So, what do you guys think about the concepts behind this this legacy batch? I think it's a good idea. I know some folks just don't like doing reworks. They say they feel like it's misusing energy that we could use for other stuff. I'll be honest with you, I don't see it that way. I see it as like, I mean, dude, you got Dale working on some stuff in the background. I saw some people that were just like, "Oh man, we're misusing um we're misusing personnel." No, I mean, you got your community manager who should be just doing community manager shit, working on this stuff, and it's cool, and he's actually doing a good job. I do agree with Candyman. Vortex could use a rework. Um, Trap says electric meta is here if you get the pieces, which we've had that conversation a lot, and that's true. But the key is this, and I say this a lot, and I know some people will probably think that I'm kind of being like a douchebag or whatever, but like, people overthink everything in this game, man, and it's like infuriating, like to the point that, like, I was talking to some players. yesterday or the day before, and because we got electric and fire buffs, they wanted to like stop using something that made sense. They wanted to stop like using like fracas or something like that. And I was like, no, you still need to use your fracas or your nightstick if you got them. They said, well, no, I'm gonna use Fireline now because I'm gonna get an extra 10%. I was like, if you use acid in fire, you get an extra 20%. So like, we just gotta stop overthinking stuff. And like, honestly, I've been saying this for a while. Our meta doesn't even mean meta is supposed to be most effective tactics available. But like, if you give this community sometimes, if you just give them something and it's just new, the people are gonna just run towards it in many cases. I mean, if it's good. Um, and it's just like, man, I'm just like, dude, like, sometimes for me, the simplest thing I can do is go back to some old tactics. Actually, while I got you guys, I want to talk about lockdown. I'm actually probably gonna wind up doing my end of year review next week because, like, to be honest with you, I'm not gonna stay up here all night. I'm gonna stay up here longer than normal, but I want to cover that one in detail because we honestly, man, when I look back at the year we had in Transformers Earth Wars, it's a pretty good year overall. And everybody's not gonna see it that way. I see it that way, but bro, what would we do with lockdown, man? Lockdown and Huffer. Because I didn't see a whole lot of comments in the chat. Now I'll tell you my idea, but I want to hear you guys' idea first. And I see we got Stinger joined us. Thanks for joining. Says they need a multiplier on battles. If I want to use 50 cells on one battle 10 times for points and resources, let me do that to avoid burnout. And that's, honestly, Sunstreak or Waz have been saying that for a while. Or just get rid of cells for silly stuff. Like if you want to, obviously you're going to have cells for like events and stuff like that. But to wait around on cooldown during your busy work week, your busy week at school and stuff like that, uh, with as many game modes as we have, we're kind of past that point, man. We gotta find some kind of way to make that so people can play when they want to play. Action Wheel says, I love reworking old stuff just to know things I used when I was in HQ 12 to 14 will finally get the love it deserves, and I can see it the way I used to. And that's a good point. Like, people feel good when you can actually use your bots again, and it's crazy sometimes, even when it makes sense. I was talking to Trap yesterday, I think it was, and I was talking to some of my alliance mates, and people were like really freaked out that I'm using Ramjet again, and like I started using them because it made sense. It was an easy sack with all those resources being sitting in the front like that. So like, why are you freaked out about it? It's just like, oh, and that's kind of goes back to what I was saying about the Drillhorn thing. Once you be like, a bot's not good anymore after it's lived out its time in the meta, folks just throw them in the garbage and never look at them again in a lot of cases, and that's crazy to me. Let's see. I see people responding to what I was saying about Nightstick 5, 4, and 3. So yeah, I started using the 3-star, and the reason why I started using the 3-star, well, first off, I already had them maxed out, but I started using the 3-star because I had 3 bots I wanted to use. I got one on Acid Storm, which is Slingshot for you guys on the Autobot side. I got one on, when I use him, I've got one on Drag Strip, which I don't use Drag Strip a lot in the current meta because it's not going to make sense for me. But I do use Drag Strip if the bases don't have all the resources in the front. So I got one on him, and I got one on Run Amok, and I actually doubled down on it. I use Run Amok, and with Fracas 4-star, and I use him with the Micronus core on offense. So So Traps is going back to the lockdown thing, make the turrets vampiric. So I tell you this, the idea that I came up today was to do a life drain um, for the turrets themselves. So the problem that I have with lockdown is this, and I'm gonna actually run them on the battlefield so you get for you guys to see. Hmm. I just So Tony B is saying that lockdown runs in front of tanks and dies. Laser needs more damage. 73% isn't enough. Um, Probably about 80 to 85% instead. And that came up a lot in play testing. So here's my issue. So I can use the turret. And the thing is, I think the goal originally, like I want to say lockdown is one of those bots that he was he's like one of the OG bots in this game. I hate that he's melee, but I don't think that's gonna change. But like look at these turrets, man. Like those turrets just get shredded. And so a lot of the focus has been on, well, if you can do something with his turrets and give him more health, then we can give him, he can protect the bot. Now, I'm gonna keep it a band with you. I am not under any circumstances going to just keep spamming the bot's ability just to protect them. Like not a lower health melee bot like him. Now a warrior, sure. The 80% health boost the warrior's got, sure. I'll use that ability again to keep him alive. But to just sit there and just keep throwing down turrets that don't really do a lot of damage, um, and to be honest with you, when I was looking into how to improve him earlier today, one of the things I was looking at with lockdown is even if I go put a good combat bot on him that boosts damage, that's not going to boost his turret damage. It's just going to go off of whatever his base damage is, plus, whatever Titan effects and stuff like that. So it's just really, really low. It takes a really, really long time for this dude to do any damage. It's a 45-second ability that you might be lucky if it makes it through 5 seconds. And so the comment came up in playtest. The conversation came up that, well, he shouldn't be popping outpost. And to the point that we actually had a conversation about if that, one person said that was his primary purpose, and I was like, no, and then that started a little bit of a debate, and I was like, no, yeah, I'm not saying that if you go and use lockdown like you're gonna use them. I think that if you had them on your team for any reason, like if I go drop all these bots right now, I'm not gonna have the bots get attacked by the outpost when I got a turret that costs 3 points that I can just drop off to the side and let the outpost bot attack it. Now the conversation took a weird turn because it came up. It's like, well, is this overpowered that he can pop outposts? And I was like, no. Like lots of bots can pop outposts. And I was like, minions, well, Blaster and Soundwave's minions can pop outposts. Rook and Blot can pop them, Fangtron. So I was like, so why are we taking this hard stance against just this bot's turrets? So they was like, well, I want to bump the health up, but I'm not going to bump the health up if, if it's going to deter outpost bots. So I said, cool. So why don't we do a life drain? So that way, if we do the life drain, then a strong enough outpost bot can just knock the turret down. And then somebody brought it up in the chat earlier today. This bot doesn't have a G1 core. So if the bot doesn't have a G1 core, I say, well, let's get that in work because you know you're already going to build one for your 5-star um, Drillhorn. Go make one for lockdown and make that G1 core. Um, so if you have a life drain for the turret, if you change that, that'll give it more health the longer that it lasts. And so hopefully it doesn't get shredded in a couple of seconds. If you take the G1 core and then extend some of that life drain and let it come back to lockdown himself for some regeneration, and then you use that G1 core to increase the damage that he does with the turret. And I think you got him about as good as you can make him at that point. But we started talking about stuff that I was just like, man, we way off base, man. Like we started talking about like making the turret non-targetable, and I was like, I'm gonna keep it. I'm just gonna be honest. If something is shooting at me, I want it to be targetable. Now there are some exceptions. Um, case in point, Broadside and Ape Face have non-targetable drones. Those jokers also die when you try to go switch the ability and stuff like that, and they explode. So there's a little bit of resistance from that regard. There's nothing like that for any other bot in the game though. When it's like, hey man, we make it non-targetable and it's doing damage. Like if you think about the SG Thundercracker and SG Jetfire, those drones those drones actually aren't doing any damage. Those hollows. So I don't know, but I think that'll work. I think it'll work if we go the idea that I'm going with, and actually just make that turret to where it has some regen. Now it's probably going to need a little bit of a health bump, and it damn sure needs a damage bump. But I say put the damage bump up there with the G1 core. That way it gives some people something they gotta chase, and then make it good. And then just like, why do you have a 45-second ability? There's not really a 45-second ability because that turret's gonna get killed. But I like keeping it cheap. We were talking about, well, making the damage and the health way more, making it not pop outpost, and making and raising the cost, bro. Like when you have a cheap bot, you gotta find ways to keep it cheap. But anyway, let me look and see what's going on in the chat. Hmm. And so you got a comment that says lockdown meant for defense. Well, I think that would be cool if he had more than one turret, and and that's also a concern of mine too. Like even with it just being that one turret defensively, if you made it non-targetable, so now you just got 45 seconds of something shooting at you that you can't shoot back at. And so you got to think these things all the way through when you looking at it from a testing standpoint. And then and I hate to have those kind of anecdotal debates, because people's like, oh, you really think these are the best defensive bots in the game? You really think somebody's going to stop that to go put lockdown on defense? I was like, yeah, if this turret's not going to stop shooting at you, they absolutely will. 45 seconds is a huge chunk of the battle. So yeah. Robert C4 says, give the laser immunity and allow it to pop post. Mike Berg is in there, and they say we'll give him big range. We talked about it, and honestly, there hadn't been much traction on this. We were actually having a lot of debate about lockdown earlier today, um, but and that's why when the newsletter came out, Dale was like, "Well, we don't know what we're doing with this one yet." uh, it's not because we hadn't been working it; it's just that it turned into a larger debate today, larger than it should have been. Uh, And I also see your comment, Mike, where you said, shouldn't the turret be placed behind them or at least behind the tanks? They shouldn't be used as hollows. And that came up as well. Not today, it came up earlier in testing. Like for me, what I'd like to do with him, if I could keep him protected, what I would do is I would like to use the, I like to use him behind the team, and let him just keep, especially like I don't like spammable abilities, but if I was going to like to spam something, it would probably be something like that. Hey, let me add some extra lasers in the back to try to speed this thing along. So to your point, I thought about that too. What I don't like to do when you do a rework is because it's to I don't like to change things just because it's convenient for your particular strategy. I like for you to use the bot the way that it was intended to use, so you can actually protect your team with you can protect your team with warriors, the way they're supposed to be used. And then these turrets can kind of just sit in the background and just add some extra damage. And that would be cool. And then now we got like a bot like exhaust. You got multiple ways to try to protect. You can just let those turrets just sit back there and just shoot. And so yeah, to your point, I think that's a good way to do. Yeah, to your point, Terry, I think eight face did used to pop drones. They got rid of that like really really early after he came out, I believe. Robert C4 asked if there's any plans on Leo's ability 11. Nah, I ain't heard nothing about it for real, which is crazy because I honestly thought that they were going to start trying to do more ability 11s for bots to enter 5-star batches. Oh shoot, Mercenary Terry got promoted to striker in his lance. That's what's up. But all right, guys, I think I'm gonna call it a night. Let me head over to the lab real quick. But yeah, man, like, and if you guys come up with any ideas for lockdown or really for any of the stuff we testing right now, if I didn't get to your comment um in the live stream, leave a comment on the video because I want to like we need good ideas. And a lot of times we can tell everybody when something is like kind of bad, but yeah, it's just I want to make lockdown good, and yeah, I want to see if it's something we can come up with that doesn't change his fundamentals too much, but we can just make them better without making them overpowered. And Chris Harmon asked if we got a G1 for Leo's at. Nah, I mean we ain't no plans. I usually come in there and tell you guys as soon as something goes into testing, but I ain't heard any plans for it. So, but all right, guys. I'm gonna let you guys know how I want to proceed with the giveaway. Um, I'm probably gonna do it around membership. So if you haven't already, go ahead and grab your membership, and you get them for as little as 99 cents. So I'm gonna give you guys a couple of weeks, man, to go in there and do that, and I'll announce it on my social media and stuff as well. So I probably give it till about Thanksgiving week before I actually go do that. So, um, and after this, after I go have some dinner, I'm gonna start editing those videos for the Acid series too. So you'll get some exclusive content as well. But all right, guys, I will see you guys next week, and I will see you on the battlefield. Freezy is out.